welcome. Swagatam, swagatam. How do you say it? Akoshelity, if you like, you can move closer. So, what is our topic? Our topic is Srimad Bhagavatam. Which canto? 5. 5. Ooh, tough one. So, maybe before we get into Fifth Canto, let's hear what your thoughts are about the drama we saw yesterday evening. Yes.
We just tell him, for me it was the best thing of the whole retreat. So nice from the beginning, it was so heart-touching for me. Wonderful.
Heart-touching.
Yeah. The whole drama I was crying. So.
But you're always crying.
A comment from the wife.
Easy one.
Other comments? Comments from the performers?
Yeah, I just want to thank everyone who are acting, and especially Nata Vrindavan. She's so amazing. And it's such a nice how, as you teach, it's so nice when we put our body, mind, words into this performance, then we can really come into role. And I mean, everyone who is watching and who is performing are getting this vibe. They're going into that other reality that is real reality. So.
Good, thank you. Anyone else?
I like that.
Wait.
Sorry. Well, I was thinking it is a good message for
Little loud and clear, please.
I was thinking that it is a good message for spiritual masters and the disciples, and where to focus.
A good message.
Share the mercy, receive the mercy, and of course the spiritual master in the beginning of the play, he was so much necessary he could not explain even the meaning of the mantra. But now we have the meaning, so...
the meaning was demonstrated by the rest of the drama.
Yes. But now we have the meaning, so... Very visual.
Very good. Yes, okay.
I like Narada Muni because he was spontaneous in his turban falling off. So we could see it was not prepared in a rush, but it was very good at the end. Nice.
Any comments from Narada Muni?
Narada Muni gave a comment also yesterday. Yeah, actually, I just want to acknowledge the Mataji makeup. What's her name? She helped us. Taruni Radha, because she helped us a lot, but it is not her fault that my turban fell off, because I wanted to put it myself, and I asked her to take care of others, so, and for me it was very, very impressive to witness how it was mercy coming down, because this was so visible that we were not ready for this. In our rehearsals, I was so frustrated. I thought, this cannot go. You know, we make so many mistakes, at least myself, but we saw that actually we were much more prepared. And sometimes the best things come when you get jump into it. Yeah. And I'm so amazed by I want to see the drama actually. I would like to see it from the point of observer.
Yeah, well, I guess it's always recorded, isn't it?
Yeah, so, but I'm so grateful, of course, to Ananda Vrindavan and the whole crew of the devotees who acted were all so cooperative, and we had some kind of cohesion.
Purification.
Cohesion. No, I would say no, I wouldn't say no. It could be misunderstood. No, the purification was because of the performance, nice performance, that kind of purification.
I have zero vision in my life. In the life, zero. So maybe
You have zero what?
zero cohesion with my wife on the day of but we managed, yeah.
No one was aware of it.
You survived.
So, yeah, what to say? Just be thankful and managed to perform something like that in such a small time period of preparation and
Yeah.
demanding, very demanding. Krishna rewarded us, I think so.
Maybe just say.
Yes, what about? Oh,
Sorry, go.
we're hearing from a lot of the actors and actresses. That's good.
Well, actually, I wanted I wanted to just challenge you a bit. I've heard that the spiritual world is full of envy, so
Really?
one,
Yeah, and also hearing discourse.
full of envy without malice, which means, to induce you for better service. So one of the functions of the service is to make other people maybe envious of the service, to improve their service. So I'm wondering.
I don't know if envy is the right word.
Not the right word? Okay. I'm sorry. I mean, that's my mind that I want to, but anyway, because I'm sometimes envious, but when I see people and maybe envious, so anyway. I give them my
Understand what you wanted to say.
Anurad.
Just 1 second. In Natya Shastra is also described that in order to bring rasa, actors or those who take participation in drama, it's very important for them to have their own sadhana, but even like biggest rasa actually comes when in audiences you can find rasikas, those who seek rasa, and then like real magic happens. And I think that's what happened like last night by the blessings of devotees who really wanted to see something uplifting and spiritual. That's why it really got along. So Yes, that's,
Thank you.
thank you.
I think the word, I don't know if Maharaj uses, but the standard word for the qualified audience is sahridaya,
Yeah,
literally with heart.
yeah.
They become qualified receptacles for the rasa. And that we saw.
The audience become receptive.
Yes, the audience.
The actors have to give us.
Yeah, well, it's a centuries-long debate amongst the aestheticians, the Sanskrit aestheticians. What is the locus of the rasa? Where is it in the performers? Is it in the audience? Where does it actually, how does it happen? It's a huge, literally centuries-long debate. And then along comes Srila Rupa Goswami, and he says, actually, rasa is all about bhakti, to, or in relation with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So they were talking about, the madhurya rasa between a young prince and a princess, just some mundane people were being as a performance. So they're trying to work that out. And Rupa Goswami kind of clears the stage and he says, it's all about Krishna and it's about all of our relation with Krishna. And that's what Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu is establishing. That's why Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu is so foundational to our tradition, because he explains how this is through so many examples, mainly from the Bhagavatam. And in the first part, he's explaining essentially how to become sahridaya. The entire discussion of Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti, the 64 activities, specific activities, and the culture of bhakti according to Vidhi. Vaidhi, that word comes from Vidhi, and Vidhi means prescribed procedure, something like that. Yeah. It's actually Vidhi and Nishedha. Nishedha means what not to do. Yeah. Good. Who else? Sima, can you just say something?
Can somebody translate in English?
Htjela sam baš reći, u jednom trenu sinoć sam samo primijetila kako me zabole obrazi, jer sam cijelo vrijeme ovako se kezila.
At one moment, I just noticed how my jaw hurts because I was laughing.
I u drugom trenu su mi išle suze.
And in the next moment, tears poured out of my eyes.
I za sebe sam dobila tu poruku na kraju da je to naš proces, jedan put. I treba se ići tim putem i na kraju ćemo doći do cilja. I to me jako potaklo.
I got the sense of a path, that our process is a path, and if we tread this path, we reach the goal at the end. That was the realization.
Ja. I kako je onda Krishna zagrlio pastira, vidjela sam sebe u tome isto, pa na kraju će mene Krishna zagrliti i ja njega. I to mi je da.
And as the coward boy, as the Gopkumar was hang, no,
Hugging.
hugged.
Not hanging.
But what's embraced, yeah. Then she saw herself that this awaits all of us.
Huh?
This awaits her too, the embrace.
Something to look forward to.
To look forward.
When Krishna
That
embraced
Krishna embraced.
Lord Kumar, then she felt, yeah, one day
Yeah,
Krishna
she will
embraced
be.
with you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Anyone else?
I just want to ask this little point that you said when the Rupa Goswami established where is the rasa. What if Krishna is in the audience?
What if Krishna's in the audience? Where's the rasa? What if Krishna's in the audience? I don't know. What is your answer?
I just thought about drama in Lalita Madhava when the Benuda is director and Krishna is in the audience. So
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, why not? My answer is no problem. It all comes to, it all comes to the same thing. It's a generation of rasa. It's a churning also. And Krishna can be active, sort of the center, or sometimes he might want to be on the side in the audience. Why not? Because they're all performing for him. That's also, that in itself is a kind of rasa, I would say. Yeah. So, on the subject of performing drama for other devotees, I probably have told all of you this, but I'll say it again. From last year or the year before, this is something you can do in gatherings of devotees, a Sunday feast program or a Saturday program or a Namahata event, any kind of gathering. There's also something interesting that we haven't seen so much of in our society, and that is street theater. But that's maybe another topic, but in more enclosed spaces, I always remember a devotee telling how in the early days in New York Temple was for some time on Henry Street. I was not there, so I don't know exactly where that was, but he said that they had a regular Sunday program, and every Sunday, part of the program was there would be a short drama performance. Sometimes it was, the fish out of water story, and sometimes it was the professor and the boatman story, and like that, so many little sketches can be done. And he said the temple every Sunday was packed. So many people came because they wanted to see that drama, because it was just so interesting, so fun, so enlightening. Now, we don't see much drama of devotees because, why? Maybe I should make it an open question and see what you say. I have a couple of answers in my mind, but let's see what you say. Yes. Harinama.
Okay.
Kamen, stiže.
I think it's also that we are all a little bit maybe shy to express ourselves, because that expression is also going out of comfort zone and actually going into that some other reality that maybe we are also afraid to go deeper in our one of the reasons in our everyday life, but also like that we are shy, and also because of, I mean, I see for myself lack of knowledge, because to have to perform you need to have knowledge about what happens, like so many details and sensibility to many details in a story. So
yeah, these are good points. Any others? So shyness or lack of knowledge, other reasons, Mahajala.
Krishna. I will just say on the positive side how I remember many years ago Krishna-ksetra Maharaj, in Lika, you were engaging us into dramas and encouraging us to do the drama. So, and we did quite, I remember Ishwar myself, we did Jagan Madai, when it was like two Bengalis are conversing about this. The other one just came and the first one witnessed it also. He's telling the story, and then when the Brahmachari friend came afterwards and he said, how he cried, we were just talking. So, and other devotees also performed amazingly. So I think due to lack of encouragement, that's the only reason, and not the only reason. I would say encouragement means a lot, and a little bit of knowledge which you explained to us, which I always remember, like that at that time you explained to us that we should try to avoid in that drama like a lot of hasya rasa, because in Balkans we always do the dramas which are just parodies and laugh, but you wanted us to delve into the other emotions. So it's beautiful when, okay, little humor is there, some humor, but when some genuine emotions come. So I think encouragement and knowledge, education, not much education, just as just a little bit of encouragement, and I think that's the secret.
Very good. Yes. Sundari.
Thank you so much, Maharaj, for this question. In your class, there are many nice devotees coming. From my experience, Mayapur, our beloved Guru Maharaj, Goranga Swami Maharaj, he's always in drama. It's mean when he going parikrama, he doing with Prabhupada disciple, and he actually showing by example how many Vaishnava dramas are important in our Vaishnava culture. And he particularly give instruction to Jaya Radhika Mataji and few more ladies and Prabhus to continue with Vaishnava dramas. And he said to Jaya Radhika Mataji, devotees can hear many classes. They can read many books, but they will forget everything. But one time, if they see drama, they will remember always. And he was always in drama, especially Safari and Parikrama. This means not that you must be in drama, but at least one part of the drama, just to encourage, especially kids, because all the time we see the same faces in drama all the time. We're supposed to engage our youth that are sitting there for 6-7 days already, and they feel quite useless. Maybe we can encourage them, especially if you coming, they will be very inspired since you want Maharaj to be part of the drama, and teach them how important this is to be in Vaishnava drama. And they will learn they're super enthusiastic, super intelligent, extremely talented, and we can make this like regular life. For example, in Novi Sad, we have a lot of youths that they are so smart. But if you give them like a mission, okay, from 1 year, now you prepare this and that drama, just give them the goal. Chaitanya drama, Radha Krishna drama, or Ram drama, they will prepare that if they have your instruction. If I'm talking, they will never listen because I'm not. But if you say, they will listen to you. Hare Krishna, I'm so sorry.
Very good points. Yes.
Just for the brainstorming part, why somebody may not want to participate in drama. Sometimes maybe some devotees can feel not qualified from, different reasons, maybe spiritual, maybe literally, maybe some other reasons, but it could be kind of excuse for some devotees not to participate in dramas.
Yes. Wrong throat. Thank you. Yes. Wait, before you speak to this point, and it's come out in a couple of ways. Fear. Fear. What will others think? We heard from Sachinanda Swami yesterday afternoon. We have our comfort zones. And there's one very interesting thing about drama for performers. There you are on the stage. And everyone is looking at you. That's not a comfort zone. That's the now I have to do something zone. But what was it that came after? So that puts you in fear. And what was beyond fear? What was the next stage? Learning. Yes, and one thing you learn is that you can just do it. And Krishna will help, right? Especially when you're with devotees. And sometimes you have to possibly a little bit improvise on the stage, as you did yesterday. I actually didn't hear your comment when your turban fell and everyone laughed. I couldn't hear the translation.
I said to go Kumar, like due to my ecstasy, my turban fell, even my turban.
That's what I could. So I'm trying to now link this up with what we heard yesterday from Sachinanda Swami. And what's the next thing after learning?
Growth.
Growth. Yeah. And I would say in this case, it's not a private growth. It's a collective growth. Everyone grows when there's another little practical option for how to do drama, I've explained this before, is radio drama, which means you have the script in front of you, and you are with the script in front of your audience, and you are reading, but you are reading dramatically. If someone is really good at this, the audience will kind of forget that you're reading. They won't hold it against you that you haven't memorized the lines. Because they know the substance is in the content. That's what matters. This is called in English radio drama. If there would be no live audience, it would just be recorded without video. That's radio drama. And radio drama can be very popular. And this overcomes one of the possible reasons for not doing drama. Oh, we don't have time. We don't have time to prepare. Memorize lines. I can't even memorize one shloka. So that we can't make costumes and set design, whatever. No, you don't need any of that. Although it does help to rehearse. Let's have even one rehearsal, and then you just go with it. And when you go with it, then at that time you also get a sense, oh, I could do this more dramatically or more whatever. So then the next time you can do it better. Yeah. Yes.
Yes, correct. Yes, Maharaj, one of the things that really matters is sometimes devotees take drama as actors too lightly and just perform so easily without some. And sometimes we are too shy. There are two sides, but in this group, I could see in all of us the sincerity, and nobody was there to show off or to just make some fun. We just were sincere. Everybody wanted really to praise that we may become some kind of receptacles of necessary. I think that's a crucial. Sometimes we perform, but too lightly and too confidently without, and then you will miss the topic itself. So these two sides, shyness and
overdoing, underdoing. Sometimes, I'll never forget, years ago, I was invited together with the late HH Krishna Swami to attend a drama performed by devotees in London. And this was the drama troupe. These were the ones who usually do drama, and they were doing a Ramayana. They had a rented hall. It was a special thing. And I have to laugh now because throughout practically the whole performance, Tamal Krishna Maharaj was sitting next to me, and he would just quietly turn to me and groan. He was groaning. It was like, oh my God, no. Because the performers were kind of not doing it with feeling. They were doing it as a big show. And something I've never understood, why is it whenever there's a Ramayana performance, they have to give Rama this huge crown? It looks totally silly. It's almost like he's still a baby and they're putting a big crown on him. So yeah, things can also be tastefully done and not over-exaggerated when it becomes just comedy. Yeah. What's also missing, perhaps, is related to just encouraging someone, is just having one devotee. Matri Sundari Mataji said it should be one of the Swamis. But if there's, the Swami comes once a year, if one local devotee says, let's do a drama, then it can happen. And you have a specific date when you're going to do it, and you just do it. Yeah. What do you think? I was just now thinking, we heard also this morning, after my question, Satchidananda Swami, rift. You know the word riff? To riff. No, riff is. No? Yeah, a riff is when the musicians just cut loose and without any, spontaneously. So he did a riff on the kidnapping of Rukmini. That's a drama. It could be done. It's actually been written. There's a Sanskrit drama, the kidnapping of Rukmini. Okay. Hare Krishna. Fifth Canto.
I have just one short question. Because now I'm just imagining in my head, what you said about drama. And I'm just imagining in my head about drama. And whatever I imagine in my head seems like funny. So how to avoid that? Not to make, because I also spoke with devotees yesterday, and some of them said that some trials were funny instead of deeper or serious. So can you give some recommendation?
Yeah, a lot of the sort of laughing aspect, especially among devotees, is nervous laughter, because we see someone we know who is now, instead of being who we usually see, they're suddenly Hanuman, and so that's humorous. So this is Bhakta so-and-so, and it's Hanuman. How to go beyond that? I don't know. When I was a teenager, my parents, I would go with my parents to see dramas performed at our local university by the drama students. And they were, kind of not yet professional, but they were training to be professional actors. So it was good acting, and many of those dramas were serious. And it was no difficulty to feel that. So one thing that would do to overcome is to see some good drama. I think this is a general point about culture. If you read good books, you get an idea what good literature is. If you hear good music, you get an idea of what good music is. There's a certain amount of lack of this in our society, which, okay, one could go on about that, but that's what I see is, and maybe just talking more about it. Let's do this seriously, and let's see if we can bring more gravity to what we're presenting, where gravity is appropriate. Having said that, also, it's a challenge in our tradition. We don't really have the concept of tragedy in our tradition. Why? Because nobody ever really dies. Right? In Greek tragedy, they really die. That's the end when they're dead, gone. In Shakespearean tragedy, when they usually end up killing each other. So that's kind of humorous in a way, but they're dead, they're finished. Romeo and Juliet kind of end up really dead. And we don't have that. But when it, and I mentioned this the other day, a Sanskritist said he tried to translate Shakespearean tragedy into Sanskrit. He said he couldn't do it. It wouldn't work. Just wouldn't work. But the comedies, he said, no problem. Of course, comedy, Dante's Divine Comedy is not ha-ha laughing comedy. It's, what is it, Commedia Divina? It's called a comedy because it has a happy ending. That's why it's comedy. But the first part of his Divine Comedy is he's describing all these people in hell. He's describing former popes in hell. There's a lot of politics in Dante's Inferno, especially. So yeah, how to make it serious. Yeah, talk about, just say, hey, let's make this serious. That's oops,
I mean, about serious, apropos serious, stepping on the stage is always a very serious business. If you step on it, you know it immediately. So it's not a comfortable situation to be in, especially without much training that actors should receive. So that's one thing, of course, why devotees don't want to do it. And I wanted to share a specific experience of mine, which illustrates how actually the truth is actually revealed in the drama. So drama is the ultimate truth, like a medium for the ultimate truth, and we are afraid of the truth about us being revealed. So it's sometimes good that we provoke some embarrassment, as I did like a few minutes ago, to train how to process embarrassment and how to train for the truth. So I'm joking. No, but one experience of mine was I was supposed to be Jaga and Mada, and this nervous laughter because devotees don't know how to process something, and you laugh then. You see Jaga and Mada, but they did really uncomfortable things, and behind it is maybe a bit uncomfortable fact that they become saints just in a second, or they become purified in a second. It's maybe hard to accept. But I wanted to say, I couldn't evoke this character, even though everything is aside. But now, if I really want to do it, I have to show this Jaga inside. Like we are all Jaga and modest, but we don't want to show it. No? So that's why. Then lady said, give it out, give your anger. But I was like, anger. But I can get really angry, so that my wife gets afraid. I can get angry, really. I said, show it, no. And then it was really, because then people will see how I behave at home if I show the truth. But then we managed somehow. So I would say that's also, if you want the truth, and it is a medium that for the truth, you have to be brave, yeah, and you have to be humble also, so to risk, and we are a family, like Hari Prasad said, at home, you should be comfortable with your faults. So theater is all about being comfortable with your faults at home. I would say we should build that understanding.
It's like
Thank you. This has been a very, I think, a very good discussion. What do you think?
Yeah.
Yeah. But now, Fifth Canto. And I've been promising all these days we're going to do an overview of Fifth Canto. So I'm going to try at least to start. And so, yeah, Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5 has 26 chapters. You probably know different cantos have different numbers of chapters. The shortest is Canto 2 with 10 chapters. And also relatively short is Canto 12 with 13 chapters, I think. Canto 5 has 26 chapters. Canto 10 has how many? 90 chapters, by far the longest. In the beginning of Canto 5, we have some family history. First there's Priyavrata, and then there's Agnidra, discussed in chapters 1 and 2. And this is kind of a carryover from Canto 4, where Dhruva Maharaj has strained relations with his father, Uttanapada, and there Uttanapada is one son of Swayambhuva Manu. And the other son is Priyavrata. So we get some description and glorification and essentially a recognition of great power of Priyavrata. He can circle like the sun, he has a chariot, he can illuminate the universe. And then there's Agnidra, and this leads then into the story of Rishabhadeva in chapters 3, 4, 5, and 6. And I mentioned that the parents of Rishabhadeva are Nabhi and Merudevi. And this is something which the Jains would agree with. The Jain tradition it's very interesting in many ways. One way it's interesting is that it's alive and it's going on since in the present day, since at least 2,500 years. And it's become also a world movement, and there are now professors of Jainism in America. Quite a bit is happening in the Jain tradition. What you may find interesting about the Jains is their ethics. A very central principle of Jainism is ahimsa. And so you will see, not so much in the West, but in India, we can see Jain monks wearing a mask so that they don't breathe in microorganisms and therefore be violent. And the more strict Jains will not eat carrots or potatoes or anything else that's grown underground. One reason apparently is they take their understanding as one potato is actually countless living beings. How they work that out, I don't know, but that's the explanation. But they're very steady in that sense. Sometimes it's said they are atheistic. What that means is they don't accept the idea of God as creator. They will say that creation has always existed, it's going through cycles. We also say that, but we understand aham. Sarvasya Prabhu. Everything is coming from aham, from me, Krishna. Their acharyas, you can call them, are Tirthankaras, and one of the Tirthankaras, number 1 in a cycle of 24, is Rishabha. Rishabha, he's known as Rishabhanath or Rishabhadeva. So, as I mentioned before, this is something of a cross, something of, I like to say, like two rivers kind of flowing close to or even crossing in the Bhagavatam. Chapter 4, Rishabh and Jayanti, his wife, have 100 sons. We don't hear of whether this was a challenge for Jayanti. I've always wondered how that is also for the mother of Duryodhana, what's her name? Gandhar.
Gandhari.
Yeah. Anyway.
Gandhari.
Gandhari. There's a sense of what's being described here is worldly perfection rooted in piety. Rishabha and Jayanti are pious. He is a ruler, and it's sort of, what is the perfection of family life? It's to have 100 sons. What about daughters? No comment. Leading many modern scholars to say, oh, this tradition is so patriarchal. Yeah. And one has to see that. It lists the names of several of these sons, and whenever we read these lists, we wonder, why is this here? What does it matter? It only gives names, and we have no idea who they are. My theory is because the Bhagavatam is summarizing from many other Puranas what may be elaborated in other Puranas, but which the Bhagavatam considers less important. In one sense, the Bhagavatam is telling a family history, and it will give names, and then it will stop at one name and say, now here's somebody important. Why? Because this is a devotee of Krishna, or this is an avatar of Krishna, this is Shakti Avisha avatar. Yeah. List of names. We get in the 12th canto, in the Bhumi Gita, it's chapter 2 or 3 of 12th canto, it's the Bhumi Gita, and this is Bhumi Devi singing about life on planet Earth, in which she is, I would say, kind of amused that so many kings are coming and going. And she lists so many names, including not only, the Daityas, the demons, but also some devotee names. And she says, they come and they go, they come, they try to conquer me, Bhumi, but they fail. They all fail. They come, they go. So one way to read about these lists, read these lists of names is, well, what do we know about them? They come, they go. Okay. In this list, there are 9 ascetics, or I can say of the 100 sons, there's included 9 who are considered as a kind of separate group, and they reappear in the 11th canto as the 9 yogendras, and then each of them gives some teaching. to whom? Maharaj Nimi. And that's interesting. Nimi, that's, I believe, also a Jain king. There's Nami Nami Nath is one of these Tirthankaras. There's an interesting story about Nami Nath, but that's all I can talk. Point is, there's again kind of a connection here. These 9 yogendras and Nami. Chapter 5, Rishabdev's instructions to his son. Famously, perhaps, verse number 1. How does it go? Nayan deho deha bhajan moge kashtan kaman arhati vid pujanye tapo divyam putraka yena shaitvam sattvam shudya yasma brahmasokyam to anantam. My dear sons, 100 of them. Imagine they're all in one room. Okay, now we're going to teach you the absolute truth. So there's a kind of compact teaching of what is Bhakti Yoga in chapter 5. The beginning of which is, he's saying, this life is not meant to live like Prabhupada would say, the cats and dogs, is to be lived as a human being. That means tapodivyam shudye. You can become purified by transcendental tapasya. Another famous verse in this chapter, Guru nasasyat, swajano nasasyat, pita nasasyat, janani nasasyat, daivam natasyan, daivam natasyan, something, namochayat ya samupeta mrityum. Do not become a guru, do not become a father, a mother, any position. Don't take any superior position of responsibility unless you can liberate your dependence. Namochayetya samupeta mritya samupeta. Yeah. So that's verse 18, chapter 5. Chapter 6. Here's a quote for the instructions, all yogis. This is from his Prabhupada's summary. Okay? He showed the process of quitting the body. So Rishabha is describing, he was king, now he's renounced, and he's wandering like a madman, and he's in the forest, it says, of Karnata, Konka, and Venka. So Karnata would refer to Karnataka, the state of Karnataka. So there's a kind of geographical suggestion there. And the Jains are very prominent in that part of India today. There's one huge statue somewhere in Karnataka, stone statue of Bahubali. And Bahubali is supposed to be one of these 100 sons, who I think he was number 2 after Bharat. And they were fighting, Bahubali and Bharata. And at one point, Bahubali kind of stops and says to himself, what am I doing? Why am I fighting over a kingdom or whatever? This is a complete waste of time. Maybe he remembers what his father had told him. So he renounces everything, including his clothes, and then he just stands without moving in one place. That's his austerity. And he stays standing like that, such that creepers grow around his legs, and so on. So there's a huge murti, and he's just standing there naked, except for some vines here and there. And they make an abhishek of this murti once a year. They have a big scaffolding, and you can see videos on YouTube. Now, in this chapter, it mentions King Arhat. And it says he is captivated by the illusory energy, and in this condition, he set forth the basic principles of Jainism. So the Bhagavatam is saying, yeah, I don't think it uses this as Prabhupada's summary. The word Jainism doesn't come, as far as I remember, in the Sanskrit, but it's very clear, it's criticizing. And how does it criticize? Well, there was this king, and he was captivated by mind. And because he was captivated by mind, he created this religion called Jainism. Yeah. But a point I wanted to make here about Rishabdev, so much of what Jains would agree with is also there. Rishabdev is a great personage. He is extremely austere. All of that they would appreciate. The teaching of austerity and so on. They're very, we might just say, Jains are very pious people. So I've seen as I met. The merchants in Jaipur who sell precious stones like rubies and emeralds, they're all Jains. And often their last name is Jain, Mr. Jain. So you know, oh, that's a Jain. They don't like to do farming. Why they don't like to do farming? Because farming involves plowing. And plowing means cutting the earth. Cutting the earth is hurting you. So does that mean they don't eat? No, they'll eat, but they'll eat what others have grown. But they're very, I mean, as far as they're quite strict and vegetarian, if not vegan. Chapters 7 through 14, we talked about yesterday morning. This is the story of Bharata and how he becomes first a deer and then he becomes Jadavarata, and how he teaches this King Rahulama. And I recommend, if you're not familiar with that story, you can feel very enriched, I would say, by studying. I'm just summarizing, so I'm not going to, and we talked about that yesterday, so I won't linger. Chapter 15 seems to be a kind of transition chapter before the rest of the Fifth Canto, which is cosmology and cosmogony. Not cosmogony, cosmology. Chapter 15 is just listing, again, one generation after another, after another, after another, with names and more names and more names. And practically no women are mentioned. I think altogether 2 women, and I don't know how many men. So this was just the way it was done in those times. Yeah, then we come into the cosmology, the cosmic geography. And I'm not going to get into any of this. We did talk a bit about it the day before, when I talked about hermeneutics. And we talked about jambu fruit becoming gold. That's in chapter 16, which is, chapter 16 is introducing Jambudvipa. Very much in the course of these chapters, one gets lots of numbers. So many yojanas wide, so many yojanas high. And it's always in yojanas. And if you look at a Sanskrit dictionary for the word yojana, you see that it says, well, it could be approximately 8 miles, or some say more. I don't know what's the maximum they'll give, various numbers. Nobody can say for sure. Srila Prabhupada just settled on 8 miles. So if it says, 1,000 yojanas, okay, that's 8,000 miles. I asked a scholar, a linguist, Russian linguist once, specialist on Sanskrit and other languages, and I asked him, so what is yojana? What is it? And he said, it's obvious. He said, it's obvious. It means a yoking. A yoking. What does that mean? That means a period of time during which an ox is yoked to a cart and does some work, or is yoked to a plow and does some work. And so then it comes to mean the distance that usually an ox will travel in that time that he's wearing the yoke before it's taken up. He's unyoked, he can rest. That's a yojana. Hare Krishna.
I like this explanation.
If anyone asks you, how do you know? If anyone asks you, you can say, do you really want to know? We have description I didn't even note it here which chapter it is, but Jambudvipa is there, and I mentioned before, this is common terminology of Puranic literature, widely speaking, of Jain literature, of Buddhist literature. They all have a Jambudvipa. And they all have a Mount Meru. Now, Meru is a big mountain. How tall is it? It's very tall. And most of it is above the earth and some of it is below the earth, whatever that means. What I think is useful to have in mind when hearing this description is the idea of the axis mundi. What is axis mundi? Axis mundi, the axis of the world. So it turns out that there are any number of cultures throughout the world who have some notion that this mountain is the center. It's the center of the world. And then that idea of this or that or the other mountain being the center of the world carries with it huge significance for that tradition. It gives orientation, it gives identity. So it seems that in South Asian traditions, it's Meru. And even if we can't see Meru, that's not a problem. Meru is there, don't worry about it. We just have to hear about it. And then, if we hear about it, we can meditate on it. And then this leads to the other point. What is being described with Mount Meru is all of these islands, as they're called, dvipas, in concentric circles. What is that? What can we call that? We could call it a mandala. Mandala just means circle, but this is a rather elaborate mandala with mountains and so on, with various measurements. And that becomes an object of meditation, something you can meditate on, if you are so inclined. It seems that Maharaj Parikshit, even though he knew he only had, by the time of the Fifth Canto, maybe he still had 5 more days to live. Hard to say. But despite that fact, he seemed to be nonetheless interested to know this information, so he very firmly asked his question of Shukadeva. Perhaps he wanted to do this meditation. And here's another, perhaps, don't mind my speculations, but I see here what could be considered a tantric element. What do I mean by that? In this case, a macro-microcosm connection. So there is this idea in Tantra, broadly conceived, that as above, so below. This is also a very widespread idea in the West, in Western esoterica, especially in medieval times. This is a kind of tantric idea. As above, so below, as in the macrocosmos, so in the body. And there's a third dimension that's not usually talked about. That's the mesocosm. What's a mesocosm? That's the temple. That's one example. What is a temple? A temple is the traditional Vedic design of a temple. It's a reflection, a kind of reflection of the macrocosm of the universe. And so it will be designed like a yantra. And it will have gopurams. If you go to Sri Rangam, who's been to Sri Rangam? They have 4 times 7, 28 gopurams. That means 28 gates because they have 7, let's forget the word, party somethings, and etc. The point being that why these big tall gopurams? Because they have so many levels, and you'll see each of those levels has a portal to go through. They get smaller and smaller and smaller. Each one is for a different level of deva, of demigod, to go through. Don't expect the devas to go through the same door that you and I go through. Right? They have their own entrance. And so that's what those gopurams are. And the whole thing is a mesocosm. You're entering into this mesocosm, kind of a cosmic situation. In the Shriradham temple, one of the gates, I forget which level it is and which side it's on, but there's one gate called the Vaikuntha gate. And that gate remains closed 364 days of the year. And on one day of the year, which is called Vaikuntha Ekadashi, and I believe it's one of the Ekadashi. No, it's not. Maybe Prasadadi Hari, do you know which day that is? Which Ekadashi? It's not the day that Vishnu wakes up.
It's in January, I think. January.
Oh, is it in January? So he's not waking up then. He's already awake. But the point is, on that day, they'll open, and I haven't been there, I've heard huge numbers of people are coming to go through that gate on that day. Why? Because it is said, if you go through that gate on that day, which is the only day, you will go to Vaikuntha after this life. You'll reach that. So that's pretty attractive. Maybe if we institute something like that in our temples, we can attract more people. Yeah, no need to chant japa. You just once in a year, once in your life. One thing you can look for in this section on the cosmology, cosmic geography, is there's horizontal description and there's vertical description. Vertical features and horizontal features of the universe. That means it's a three-dimensional yantra. It's a mandala like this, but also it's vertical, so it's a three-dimensional yantra. Which again is an object of meditation. And this is what Shukadeva Goswami says at the very end is Hare Krishna. There's a seminar immediately after this. Okay. So we have to respect it. Yeah. Okay, Canto 5, verse 26. No, Canto 5, chapter 26, verses 39 and 40. Shukadeva Goswami says, all these descriptions constitute the Virat Rupa of the Lord. Well, this is not the first time you get a Virat Rupa, but it's another way of understanding Virat. What means Virat?
Cosmic.
Cosmic, yeah. Yeah, it means basically big.
Yeah.
Again, it's very much about meditation. I would say that's what it is. more than anything else. And what that means is we don't really need to worry so much, how do you figure that it's like this or like that, when what we see with our telescopes and so on is something different. In fact, there's a whole history which goes back centuries of Indian pundits who are astronomers and astrologers who are fully aware of these Puranic descriptions, and they're also fully aware of the positions of the planets and the stars and the sun and the moon as we would understand from a more so-called modern position. They're fully aware of both. And what do? They try either to reconcile or say, anyway, we're doing astrology here and we're doing something else over here. And there's a book that's been compiled by the Bhaktivedanta Institute, the name of which I always forget, Bhaktivedanta Institute for Higher Studies, which fully elaborates this topic about this, the discussion between the two, plus it has a... Well, Hare Krishna, we didn't get to the fun parts of it. Well, we had a nice discussion in the beginning. What I want to say now is, I think we can have a session tomorrow. Yeah. I hope you'll be able to come. And tomorrow we're just going to have fun. And if you like, you can get a head start for tomorrow by either working on a rap song about any aspect of Canto 5. We had some verses we selected. Let's see. Harinama Nandini. Oops. Wait. Verse is, I'm looking now. You sent me. Here we are. Yeah. So here's 6 verses you could choose one from to do something interesting with, like create a rap song.
I heard that.
So they're all 5th canto. Then chapter 5, verse 1, we talked about that one. Chapter 5, verses 8 and 9. Chapter 5, verse 18, we talked about that. Chapter 6, verse 5. Chapter 11, verse 17. Or chapter 18, verse 9. I know what that one is. Swastyastu vishvasikalam prasidatam, etc. It's the verse immediately after Om Namo Bhagavate Narasimhaya. And we had some fun with that verse before. That's one possibility, and the other is what we started to work on 2 days ago, and that was, how would you explain to someone what's described in chapter 26? What's described in chapter 26? The hellish planets and the hellish punishments. How would you explain that to your Aunt Sylvia? Or to some Martians who have just landed? Or to your city librarian? Or to some high school students? So these are possibilities, and you can work on these either by yourself or with 1 or 2 others. How is that? Okay? And tomorrow we'll Actually, what would really be nice is that we prepare something that we can present tomorrow evening. What do you think? A wrap here and something there. Many possibilities. I'm leaving this very open, perhaps too open, but here we are. The time is what it is. Tomorrow we will discuss further. Okay? Thank you all very much. Shiva Prabhupada ki, Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam, Fifth Canto ki, Your Premanandi.